I had spent years building a quiet life on my mountain ranch. Nobody in the nearby HOA knew much about me, and I preferred it that way. But one morning, a sheriff vehicle stopped unexpectedly right outside my gate. I was repairing a boundary fence when I heard an engine approaching. A sheriff's SUV rolled toward my private gate and stopped without warning. I wiped dust from my hands and walked over to see what was going on. The deputy introduced himself as Officer Jason and said he needed to speak with me. I asked what the problem was, but his answer concerned me. He claimed the HOA reported a property dispute over my private ranch. I told him there was no HOA authority over my private land. Jason claimed the HOA had paperwork giving them authority over part of my property. So I asked him to show me the documents he was carrying in his folder. The paperwork he carried did not prove what he thought it did. I pulled out my property records and showed him the actual boundary lines. The deed clearly placed the disputed section inside my private mountain ranch. Jason studied the documents but did not seem convinced yet. He told me his sister wanted the gate opened immediately. A few minutes later, Samantha Sterling arrived in her luxury SUV, ready for a major confrontation. She was the HOA president and Jason's sister. She walked toward my gate as if she already owned the place, demanding that I open the entrance. Samantha claimed the property belonged to the community development. I reminded her an HOA decision could not rewrite a recorded deed. She became furious and ordered Jason to take control of the gate. That was when I realized this was not going to be a simple minor disagreement. Jason walked up to my gate and examined the heavy steel chain. Samantha told him to remove it and let HOA representatives inside. I calmly told him this was private land, but he made a choice that changed things. Jason tried to open the gate while Samantha watched from right behind him. I simply told him the property was privately owned and documented. Then I noticed another vehicle approaching fast from the mountain road. It was a dark government SUV with an official federal insignia. Samantha's confident expression suddenly disappeared, and Jason had no idea that the agent stepping out of the vehicle was about to recognize me. The man stepped out and walked directly toward my ranch gate. Jason immediately recognized federal credentials on his jacket. Samantha looked confused and suddenly became much quieter as the man approached us. Agent Marcus looked at me and said, "Good to see you, Logan. We had worked together before, but nobody in the HOA knew that." He was not surprised to see me because he already knew exactly who owned this private land. Jason stared at us, trying to understand what was happening. Samantha finally asked who he was, so Marcus identified himself as a federal agent and showed his badge. Jason immediately stepped back from the gate. Marcus asked Jason why a local officer was attempting to enter private federal property without authorization. Jason tried explaining he was responding to an HOA complaint, but Marcus asked for legal authority. A local deputy badge did not give him ownership of my land, and Samantha's argument fell apart completely. I handed Marcus the same property records I showed Jason. He looked through the deed and recognized lines. The disputed land was clearly part of my ranch with no legal basis for the HOA claim. Samantha realized her brother could not take control of my land, and her confident attitude disappeared almost completely today. She started insisting the HOA made an honest mistake, but she had sent an officer to enforce that mistake. Jason lowered his voice and admitted he had relied on HOA claims without checking the official deed records. I told him I understood he was given incomplete information, but reminded him private property rights could not be ignored. Marcus agreed the matter needed to be documented properly by federal authorities on site. Another federal vehicle appeared at the end of the road. Marcus told me his supervisor had been briefed about the situation. Samantha looked toward the vehicles, realizing how serious this conflict had become. Nobody was laughing about the ranch gate anymore. The federal supervisor reviewed the situation and asked for original HOA documents. When compared with my deed, the legal contradiction became completely obvious. The HOA had no authority to seize or control my ranch. The gate remained exactly where it had always been, on private property. Jason finally understood that his badge did not make the HOA's false claim legitimate. Samantha had sent her own brother to take control of land she did not own, and now, with federal agents standing beside me on my ranch, she was about to face full legal consequences for her reckless decision.